Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Students commit to continue their protests on the campus of UC San Diego. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. There are consequences tonight in the aftermath of Monday's clearing of a student encampment, and those arrested face suspension from the university. And as KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us, a group of faculty members is now calling for the chancellor's resignation.
The push for Palestine is still being felt here on the Library Walk at UC San Diego, where a protest encampment was cleared just a day ago. This is support of a different color and context, artwork and political messages to draw attention to the continued war in the Middle East. This just happens to be the annual Justice in Palestine Week on campus, where student organizations hold events to educate people about their history and heritage.
It's not the solution, but it will get us closer to the solution, yes. Getting educated about both sides of the conflict are definitely important, which I'm trying myself to do.
Early yesterday morning, UCSD police led other law enforcement in riot gear, clearing the encampment that had been built by students supporting Palestine and demanding the university divest from its Israeli financial interests. UC San Diego Chancellor Pradeep Khosla ordered the action that led to the arrest of 40 students and 24 others. There was also a showdown with police and aggressive protests around campus. Today, a group of faculty is condemning this response. A press release created by professors in the UC San Diego Ethnic Studies Department lists what faculty supporters want. It states, 1, we demand the immediate resignation of Chancellor Khosla because his actions placed hundreds of students in danger from law enforcement. 2, we demand amnesty for all students, faculty, and staff associated with the encampment, both those currently detained and any who may be the subject of future investigation. And 3, we demand police be removed from campus immediately and permanently. Curtis Mades is one of the professors making the demands. He spoke with us last week as he supported students at the encampment.
In my study of these histories, I think if you oppose student movements on campus, you're really on the wrong side of history. It's hard to come up with an example of a student protest movement that now I would want to say we weren't for.
Students were allowed back for in-person classes today, and the administration continued to defend its actions. No further comment from the chancellor's office on the call for his resignation or pending interim suspensions given to students who were arrested. There is still unfinished business on this campus regarding what has happened here in the last week. Some of it will be handled by the legal system. The administration holds some accountability, and protests will continue. That includes a planned event here on the Library Walk this evening with some of the former encampment supporters. For now, graduate student Aaron Mencher says he'll enjoy the artwork and the calm that has returned to campus.
It's important to know what is happening so that then we can begin to form our own opinions about what needs to be done to hopefully spare as many lives as possible.
Next week, the university will host its annual Peace in Israel student event. MG Perez, KPBS News.
Meanwhile, colleges across the country are grappling with tough decisions about commencement and ceremonies amid protests on campus. Karen Kafa is in Washington with that part of the story.
Protests over the Israel-Hamas war now colliding with college commencement season.
Campus is operating on like 10%, 5%, and we're still paying full tuition and watching all of this unfold and not getting graduation too.
More than 2,300 people have been arrested on college and university campuses since April 18th. The demands of pro-Palestinian protesters vary, but many are calling for schools to divest from entities that they say support or benefit from Israel's war in Gaza. On Monday, Columbia University, an epicenter of the demonstrations, announced the cancellation of a campus-wide commencement ceremony scheduled for May 15th and will hold smaller school-based events due in part to security concerns. Other schools across the country have also adjusted graduation plans or heightened security. The University of Southern California canceled its main stage commencement, which typically brings together 65,000 students and their families. Emory University announced Monday it would move a scaled-down university-wide commencement off of its Atlanta campus. While the protests were not the chief focus of President Joe Biden's remarks on Tuesday, he condemned recent threats against some Jewish students on college campuses during the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum's annual Days of Remembrance ceremony at the U.S. Capitol.
There is no place on any campus in America, any place in America, for anti-Semitism or hate speech or threats of violence of any kind.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, we will see those low clouds return, especially near the coast overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. Lows will dip down into the upper 50s. We'll get down into the mid-40s into Ramona and Mount Laguna mid-40s. A little warmer to Borrego Springs, but overall not a bad forecast for Wednesday. It is a little breezy. The strongest of the winds will be off to the north, but we'll keep an eye out for some gusty breezes over the mountains and then through the canyons and passes. We're going to look at a warming trend, especially for the interior, coming up with our full forecast.
The family of 2 of the 3 surfers killed during a trip to Baja California are speaking out today.
They were young men enjoying their passion of surfing together. Now it's time to bring them home to family and friends. And the ocean waves in Australia. Please, live bigger, shine brighter, and love harder in their memory.
And that was the parents of Callum and Jake Robinson in Ocean Beach this morning. And they, along with American citizen Jack Carter Rode, were murdered in an apparent robbery on April 28th or 29th. 3 suspects are being held in connection with the case, and prosecutors say 2 are being held pending drug charges but continue to be suspects in the killings. The hush money trial against former President Donald Trump continued today. The woman at the center of it all, Stormy Daniels, testified about their alleged sexual encounter back in 2006. Here's Jen Sullivan with a recap of what happened in court.
Former President Donald Trump arriving in court Tuesday for day 13 of the hush money trial in New York. Prosecutors allege Trump, who faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, orchestrated a scheme to undermine the 2016 presidential election by suppressing negative information, including a $130,000 payment made by his then lawyer Michael Cohen to keep adult film star Stormy Daniels quiet about an alleged previous affair from 2006. Trump denies the affair and has pleaded not guilty to all of the charges.
There's nothing being hidden at all.
Tuesday, Daniels testifying in the trial, asking the court to address her by the name she uses as an adult film star.
She comes in today saying, "Call me Stormy Daniels, not Stephanie Clifford." She's not running from her background at all, nor should she.
The 45-year-old took the stand wearing a loose jacket. Reporters in the courtroom describing her as nervous and talking fast. The prosecutor and judge asking her to slow down. The prosecutor asking her questions about her upbringing.
I think the prosecutor, Ms. Hoffinger, is trying to humanize Stormy Daniels before this jury.
Daniels was asked details about her alleged sexual encounter with the former president at his hotel room in Lake Tahoe back in 2006, testifying, quote, Mr. Trump had come into the bedroom and was on the bed, then saying the intention was pretty clear. Somebody stripped down to their underwear and is posing for you. During cross-examination, the defense trying to paint Daniels as someone who was seeking to profit financially from Trump with her claims. Trump said this after the testimony was over.
This was a very big day, a very revealing day.
Jen Sullivan, KPBS News.
January flood victims are taking a major step towards suing the city of San Diego today. A local lawyer filed paperwork for a lawsuit for nearly 300 flood victims against San Diego. Residents say the city knew Chollas Creek was too clogged to drain properly, but the city kept deferring cleanup. The cycle continued as the problem became more and more expensive to fix, resulting in January's disastrous flood.
They didn't get the message, and the first time we sued them. This is not the first time. This has been an ongoing problem for years and years. I have the documentation to prove it.
What we're looking at here is a compounding effect of inattention, of the city kicking this can down the road, allowing this buildup to grow.
And the residents plan to ask for $100 million in damages from the city. One of San Diego's most prominent philanthropists has died. Joan Jacobs died on Monday of heart failure at the age of 91. She and her husband, Erwin, donated hundreds of millions of dollars spread among many San Diego organizations, including KPBS. And KPBS reporter Thomas Fudge has more on her passing.
$120 million to the San Diego Symphony, a pledge of $100 million to the Salk Institute, more than $250 million in donations to UC San Diego. Joan and her husband Erwin Jacobs, the founder of Qualcomm, have made a big financial impact on many San Diego schools and nonprofits. Martin Hetzer, who was the chief science officer at the Salk Institute, called the Jacobs gift to Salk transformative.
50 years from now, people will look back at this moment and recognize this as a significant moment in our history. This is a long-lasting legacy, and we are eternally grateful.
Joan Klein grew up in New York City and got her bachelor's degree from Cornell University, where she met her future husband. Joan and Erwin Jacobs moved to San Diego in 1966, where Erwin was a founding member of the engineering department at UCSD. He called it an exciting opportunity. Joan said in a UCSD video production she was struck by the energy that went into building the new campus.
When we first came, there was Uri Hall, and the next day I went to see it, and the grass was already out there, and the next day I went, and the wall was already built, and I was just totally amazed by the speed in which things happened in California.
Family members mourning Joan's death include her husband, her 4 sons, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Granddaughter Sarah Jacobs is a Democratic congresswoman representing San Diego's 51st district. She said of her grandmother, "She pushed me and everyone around her to be the best versions of themselves. She showed me that I could be feminine and win an argument. I could be a wife and a mother and a grandmother and also a leader." At a ceremony 3 years ago marking their major gift to the Salk Institute, Jacobs told KPBS her reason for the family's philanthropy.
I hope it will set an example. For me, that's the most important part of our giving, is that other people will realize that it's an important thing to do and to set an example for them and for our children.
The late Joan Jacobs. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
A public celebration of life for Joan Jacobs will be held on Monday at 11 a.m. at the Rady Shell downtown. In the interest of transparency, Joan and Erwin Jacobs are financial supporters of KPBS.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, Israel seizes control of a critical Gaza border crossing as a ceasefire with Hamas hangs in the balance. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The U.S. Department of Education announced a multi-million-dollar grant program this week to help students apply for federal financial aid. Katie Anastas spoke to a college advisor who says the most urgent need is fixing technical problems with the new form.
The FAFSA underwent major changes last year to make it easier to fill out and expand access to Pell Grants. But the launch of the new form was plagued with problems and delays. It opened months later than usual, pushing back the college admissions process for schools and students.
It was really frustrating. It was even just if I added a space mark and I didn't see it, it would be wrong.
Arilene Flores experienced those problems firsthand. Minor differences between her form and her parents' form would send her back to the beginning. Flores just completed her FAFSA 2 weeks ago, after many 5 a.m. calls to the U.S. Department of Education. Federal education officials have announced new funding to help school districts, nonprofits, and other groups put on FAFSA submission clinics and make advisors available outside of regular school hours. But Julian Villalvaso with the Barrio Logan College Institute says the more urgent need is technical assistance.
In reality, the issues we're facing is on their end, right? There's nothing we can do. We can host all of these different support groups on Saturdays or after school. But if the issue lies on being able to contact somebody on their end to be able to verify their identity, and we're not even getting a phone call answered, there's nothing we can do.
The Department of Education said in a news release it's made significant progress to address known issues with the new form. The University of California and California State University systems extended their decision deadlines from May 1st to May 15th because of problems with the FAFSA. Flores says she's thankful schools understood what students were going through, though she's still waiting to hear about financial aid offers. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and 2 San Diegans are doing their part to raise awareness through physical fitness. Cycle Bar in San Marcos and nonprofit Gooden Center will host Spin Against Stigma charity ride tomorrow. Mental health resources, specialists, and information will be available on site. The Cycle Bar general manager and Gooden Center outreach manager say they came up with the idea after exchanging stories about their own struggles with mental health and addiction.
I'm so grateful to be doing this event because there's such a stigma around asking for help, because I was afraid to ask for help.
The fitness community it pairs so well with anybody on a mental health, wellness, or recovery journey. The men and women at that studio that I started at literally saved my life.
Spin Against Stigma starts tomorrow at 11 a.m. Proceeds for the event will benefit Gooden Center, and you can find more information at the Gooden Center website. With both North American and Mexican Mother's Day around the corner, KPBS reporter Melissa May tells us how a San Ysidro nonprofit is showing its appreciation for mothers in the community.
At Our Lady of Mount Carmel in San Ysidro, hundreds of community members gather for the monthly Hearts and Hands Working Together food distribution.
In these times of need, people appreciate a lot the fruit and vegetables because it's very expensive right now if you go and buy in the store.
The San Diego Hunger Coalition says 48% of San Ysidro residents experience nutrition insecurity, compared to the county average of about 25%. Alicia Jimenez is the founder and president of Hearts and Hands Working Together.
We give with our hearts and with our hands, and that's why always is something different, and our volunteers is thinking what to give and what to provide for our clients.
And at this distribution, they're giving something special to the mothers.
Muchas gracias.
Thanks to volunteer Consuelo Delgadillo.
I want to do something for the people who come to the food distribution. And I made this little present. I feel so grateful to see the people happy when they take just a little something.
Delgadillo handmade over 400 unique Mother's Day gifts, from picture frames, earrings, and flower bouquets, all marked with a special Mother's Day message.
I hope they get a very, very good Mother's Day, a very happy Mother's Day.
Patricia Garcia picked out a picture frame.
Yo me siento muy halagada, bendecida por ustedes y pues maravilloso. Muy agradecida a Dios y a ustedes.
Her 8-year-old daughter Camila was happy her mom received a gift.
Porque ella me dio la vida.
Thanks to 41 sets of volunteers' hands working together. About 400 people received fresh fruits and vegetables, and the moms got an early reminder that they are
bonita.
Melissa May, KPBS News.
Well, we are dealing with a bit of a cool time for some, but we're going to get into a warming trend through the weekend, and we're a little breezy during this time here through midweek with morning clouds and brighter afternoons, which that shoe tends to fit here in the month of May and through June as well. Sometimes we call it May gray and June gloom in the morning before that brightening in the sky with fewer clouds. We'll get much warmer later this week, especially in the interior. Tonight, though, the clouds return. 59 for your low in the metro area. And tomorrow, after somewhat of a cloudy morning, a brighter afternoon. El Cajon 75, Ramona 75. Into San Diego will be up around 68 in the afternoon. And from Mount Laguna 55 on the cool side, we get down into Borrego Springs 89 for your warmer afternoon high. Looking ahead to Thursday, still fairly dry. Nothing too wild across Southern California, but we're going to be watching as later this week a ridge builds across the western U.S. And you can see that we're going to be seeing this ridge flex its muscle. In fact, some areas up near Portland, Oregon could challenge record highs come Friday. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But overall, a general warming trend. Now, the change is going to be kind of muted near the coastline with the Pacific keeping us in check. But for those of you in the interior, you're going to get warmer. And the most dramatic warmth is going to be off to our north. That's what that graphic is kind of highlighting. Areas north of I-80 where you're going to be most significantly warmer than average. But for us here in the San Diego area, not a bad stretch. We'll warm up a few degrees up to around 72 come Sunday. Again, clouds break in the afternoons over the next few days. Low clouds in the morning, plenty of sunshine in the afternoons. Inland areas, we're going to jump from the low to mid 70s to the upper 70s come Saturday. A warming trend, sunshine, nice weather. The mountains, we're going to go from the mid 50s all the way up to 70. Kind of a dramatic change there come Sunday, as we'll be a lot warmer there after a couple of cool times and cool days. And into the deserts, we're going to jump nicely into the mid to upper, well, mid 90s, I should say. 96, though, Sunday will be the warmest day in the batch. So about 7 degrees warmer than where we will have been on Wednesday. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jeff Cornish for KPBS News.
Music sees no age, race, or background, and the Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad opens its doors to anyone interested in the tools behind the tunes. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says the museum's latest renovation gives visitors a more hands-on experience.
It's hard to keep your hands and your feet off the instruments in the new interactive areas at the Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad. But that's the point, to bring out everyone's inner musician.
We'll find some what we might think of as traditional instruments, you know, guitar and piano and drums, but then you also have the new electronic instruments, DJ turntables. We have an electric theremin. We've got a new lighting console that you can try out with mixing music. You know, you don't really have the type of experiences you would normally have if you were just picking up a guitar. There's something beyond just playing a traditional instrument here.
BJ Morgan is the marketing manager for the museum. He says musical innovations are shaping the way music is made, and they have to follow the tunes.
We do like to recognize like the newest innovations. This museum is all about innovations, things that help change instruments and what made them the way they are. And over time you could recognize that, yeah, you had a record player maybe back in the 20s and 30s, but what does that look like now?
But rather than adding a new exhibit, the museum created 2 new interactive spaces for everyone to try.
We realized we've got a lot more opportunity here. And so that was kind of the catalyst for this new remodel, to add even more interactivity and more advantages and a little bit more spaces where we can tell some deeper stories.
I don't really play an instrument, but I've always wanted to perform on the stage or do something with an instrument or my voice. And I love this museum.
That was 4th grader Eloise Hoffine. We joined her class during a field trip to the museum.
The drum circle was really cool because it's like everyone beating in it's like synchronized swimming, except it was like drums.
She got to control the beat of the drums for her class before exploring the rest of the museum.
We started by watching a really cool informational video about how music gets to your ears, and then we learned about different types of instruments, which was really fun. Then we were playing really cool instruments in this room, and I liked the accordion the best.
Hoffine still has some time to discover new instruments. But for sophomores Amaya Fox-Williams and Gina Buono, the field trip to the museum is a trip of rediscovery.
Yeah, I like the harp because I wanted to play the harp when I was younger. I guess I got my hopes up a little bit. It's not as fun as I thought it was gonna be, but I definitely want to get back into playing the drums again.
I like playing guitar. I kind of wanted to play piano. Well, it gives me a more open mind about other instruments I could play, or what I could do if I wanted to be in the music industry.
BJ Morgan with the museum says music has evolved from our grandparents' age, but it's still cross-generational, and here age doesn't matter.
Every generation has something they do gravitate towards, but even in those generations, you still have a whole variety. And so our goal is to make sure we're trying to offer as much as we can, no matter what your interests are.
Through donations and grants, the Museum of Making Music is able to offer subsidized school field trips in hopes of inspiring the next line of musicians.
This is where you can come and find your place in making music. A lot of folks don't think that they have the ability to make music, but we really want to break down those barriers and make it more accessible to everyone. And learn where these instruments came from, or learn where, the possibilities exist.
And Morgan says the possibilities never end, adding they offer adult music programs.
So we have both a concert band and we have an orchestra program for adults that are interested in learning, maybe relearning, maybe reigniting their passion for music.
The museum is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday, with different concerts and classes throughout the year. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.